So now let's turn to the awakening of faith, which was attributed to Asvaghosha, and this particular version was translated by Yoshito Hakeda and was published by Columbia University Press. At the beginning of the preface, there's an indication that the awakening of faith is one of the basic texts of Mahayana Buddhism used by most of its major schools. And they indicate that the popularity of the text in East Asian Buddhism is well attested by numerous works written on it throughout the ages in China, Korea, and Japan. What I have found with the awakening of faith in terms of my own sort of take on it, my own perspective, is that it's much different than many of the Mahayana sutras in the sense it's not at all fantastical in terms of, describing these, sort of very elaborated scenes and by giving, numerous parables and sort of less direct forms of communicating the Buddha Dharma. Rather than that, in the introduction, they say, the work is a comprehensive summary of the essentials of Mahayana Buddhism, the product of a mind extraordinarily apt at synthesis. It begins with an examination of the nature of the absolute, or enlightenment, and of the phenomenal world, or non-enlightenment, and discusses the relationships that exist between them. From there it passes on to the question of how may man transcend his finite state and participate in the life of the infinite while still remaining in the midst of the phenomenal order. It concludes with a discussion of particular practices and techniques that will aid the believer in the awakening and growth of his faith. So what I want to do is to go to the very end. This section of the Awakening of Faith, Part 5, is entitled Encouragement of Practice and the Benefits Thereof. And I'll read the whole section. And by the way, I hope you can excuse the sort of gender bias in this translation where it's consistently referring to he or man or men or whatever. That, we can sort of transpose that in our own mind to reflect a broader sort of gender-free way of expressing it if we wish. As has already been explained in the preceding sections, the Mahayana is the secret treasury of the Buddhas. Should there be a man who wishes to obtain correct faith in the profound realm of the Tathagata and to enter the path of the Mahayana, putting away far from himself any slandering of the teaching of Buddha, he should lay hold of this treatise, deliberate on it, and practice it. In the end, he will be able to reach the unsurpassed enlightenment. If a man, after having heard this teaching, does not feel any fear or weakness, it should be known that such a man is certain to carry on the lineage of the Buddha and to receive the prediction of the Buddha that he will obtain enlightenment. Even if a man were able to reform all living beings throughout all the systems in the universe and to induce them to practice the 10 precepts, he still would not be superior to a man who reflects correctly upon this teaching, even for the time spent on a single meal. For the excellent qualities which the latter is able to obtain are unspeakably superior to those which the former may obtain. And of course, this is classic Mahayana scripture, where, the benefits of focusing on the scripture is touted as being above all other forms of offerings, even to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So this section, which is just a page and a half, goes on to say, if a man takes hold of this treatise and reflects on and practices the teachings given in it, only for one day and one night, the excellent qualities he will gain will be boundless and indescribable. Even if all the Buddhas of the 10 directions were to praise these excellent qualities for incalculably long periods of time, they could never reach the end of their praise, for the excellent qualities of the reality or dharmata are infinite, and the excellent qualities gained by this man will accordingly be boundless. If, however, there is a man who slanders and does not believe in this treatise, for an incalculable number of eons he will undergo immense suffering for his fault. Therefore, all people should reverently believe in it and not slander it, for slander and lack of faith will gravely injure oneself as well as others, and will lead to the destruction of the lineage of the 3 treasures. Through this teaching, all Tathagatas have gained nirvana. and through the practice of it, all bodhisattvas have obtained Buddha wisdom. It should be known that it was by means of this teaching that the bodhisattvas in the past were able to perfect their pure faith, that it is by means of this teaching that the bodhisattvas of the present are perfecting their pure faith, and that it is by means of this teaching that the bodhisattvas of the future will perfect their pure faith. Therefore, men should diligently study and practice it. Profound and comprehensive are the great principles of the Buddha, which I have now summarized as faithfully as possible. May whatever excellent qualities I have gained from this endeavor, in accordance with reality, be extended for the benefit of all beings.